He didn't just want to win. He wanted to bury you in calculation. He wanted your position to fall apart while you were still trying to understand what just happened. Alexander Alekhine didn't play safe. He didn't simplify. He played with fire, and he knew how to control it. Where Capablanca brought calm and elegance, Alekhine brought chaos and depth. He studied harder, prepared longer, and attacked with terrifying precision. But behind the genius was something restless, a mind that couldn't switch off. He became world champion, rewrote what was possible on the board, and never gave up the title, not even in death. Welcome to Chess and Beyond. This is the story of Alexander Alekhine, the genius who never let go. Alexander Alekhine was born in 1892 in Moscow into a privileged Russian family. His father was a wealthy landowner and a member of the Duma, Russia's national assembly at the time, something like a parliament for the empire. His mother, a strong chess player herself, and it was from her that young Alexander caught the spark. He learned the rules early, but he didn't just play. He devoured the game. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just beating other kids. He was taking down adults, champions, anyone who sat across from him. What stood out wasn't just talent, it was intensity. Alekhine didn't float across the board like Capablanca. He dug deep into the position, calculated everything, and looked for chaos he could control. At age 16, he was already winning high-level tournaments in Russia. By 17, he was representing Russia internationally. And by 18, people were whispering that he might one day become world champion. But Alekhine wasn't just chasing titles. He was chasing perfection, and he believed that chess, like life, rewarded those who were willing to go further than anyone else. Even then, it was clear, he didn't just want to be the best. He wanted to prove something, and he would spend the rest of his life trying to do it. His rise was fast, but it wasn't smooth. In 1927, he finally got the match he'd been waiting for, Capablanca, the man who had defeated him years earlier. The man whose style he admired and quietly resented. Capablanca had never lost a match. He barely studied. He barely stressed. He made chess look effortless, and that drove Alekhine mad. So Alekhine prepared. For years. He studied Capablanca's games, his habits, his psychology. He built strategies not just to beat him, but to drag the match into muddy, complicated territory. Exactly where Capablanca was weakest. And it worked. The 1927 World Championship match in Buenos Aires stretched over 34 grueling games. Alekhine didn't dominate, but he endured. He forced Capablanca out of his rhythm, out of his comfort zone, and finally, off the throne. It was the shock of the chess world. Alekhine had done it. He was now the world champion. But even in victory, something in him couldn't let go. He refused to give Capablanca a rematch, ever. And for the rest of his life, he carried that decision like a shadow. The rivalry didn't end on the board. It settled into legend and bitterness. As world champion, Alekhine didn't slow down. He didn't play safe. He didn't settle. He pushed harder, in preparation, in complexity, in ambition. He defended his title twice against Efim Bogoljubov, both times with authority. His games were sharp, imaginative, sometimes downright brutal. Where Capablanca simplified, Alekhine complicated. He welcomed chaos. He created tension out of nowhere and thrived in it. And he wasn't just playing to win, he was playing to prove a point. He wanted the world to see that calculation and creativity could coexist. He wanted chess to be a battlefield of ideas, not just a technical puzzle. His combinations, the sacrifices, the unexpected turns, are still studied today. Some of them feel like they came from a different dimension, like he could see a dozen moves ahead, and what you'd emotionally do in between. But behind all that brilliance was a man under pressure. Alekhine was constantly battling self-doubt, perfectionism, and the feeling that he still had something to prove, even after becoming champion. He wasn't just defending a title. He was defending the identity he had built around it. But even legends can fall. In 1935, something unthinkable happened. Alekhine lost the world championship. His opponent? The Dutch mathematician and chess master Max Euwe. A calm, disciplined player. Less aggressive, less flashy, but razor-sharp when it counted. Alekhine was the heavy favorite, but that might have been part of the problem. He came into the match overconfident, distracted. Many say he didn't prepare seriously. Some blamed his growing issues with alcohol. Max Euwe beat him, and just like that, the crown was gone. It was a shock, not just to the chess world, but to Alekhine himself. But he wasn't done. After the defeat, something in him snapped into focus. He reportedly gave up drinking, returned to serious training, and demanded a rematch. 2 years later in 1937, Alekhine and Yu Wei faced off again, this time with everything on the line. And Alekhine came back with a vengeance. He played with precision, discipline, and fire. This wasn't the chaotic attacker of old. It was a man who had rebuilt himself to win. He regained the world championship, defeating Yu Wei decisively. And he never let it go again. Not just a fighter, a symbol of obsession, redemption, and the refusal to let go. But the world was changing, and even a champion couldn't outrun what was coming. The 1930s and 40s brought more than just games. As Europe spiraled into conflict, his life grew more complicated and more controversial. During World War II, Alekhine participated in tournaments organized in German-occupied territories across Europe. This alone raised eyebrows. But worse were a series of articles published under his name, anti-Semitic pieces claiming that Jewish chess was inferior to his own. To this day, no one knows for sure if Alekhine actually wrote them. Some believe he was forced to publish under pressure. Others think they were ghost-written and used for propaganda. What's certain is this: he never fully escaped the stain. After the war, Alekhine tried to rebuild his reputation. He began negotiating a new championship match, this time with Mikhail Botvinnik, a rising Soviet star. But the match never happened. In 1946, Alekhine was found dead in a hotel room in Estoril, Portugal. The cause? A heart attack, at least officially. But as with so much in his life, the end was tangled in mystery and debate. He died alone, far from Russia, far from the board. Still world champion. No title match, no goodbye. Just silence, and a position forever left unfinished. Alekhine was a tactical genius, no question. His combinations, the sacrifices, the long-range ideas, the surprise endings, are still studied today in chess books, classrooms, and engines. He didn't just find beautiful moves. He created problems so rich they felt like puzzles from another world. And yet, the beauty of his play is always wrapped in tension. Tension between logic and chaos. Tension between brilliance and control. Tension between the champion and the man. He never gave Capablanca a rematch. He never quite outran the controversies of the war. He never got the final match against Botvinnik. But what he did leave us is a vision of chess as something bigger. Something personal, dangerous, emotional. A battlefield of ideas. Alekhine didn't just play the game, he pushed it to its edge. And maybe that's the best way to remember him. Not as perfect, but as fierce. As the one who showed us what happens when you never let go of a fight, even when the fight is with yourself. So here's the question. What's the Alekhine game that stunned you the most? Was it one of his wild sacrifices, his brutal attacks, or maybe the match that finally broke Capablanca's streak? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear which of his games made you sit back and think, how did he even see that? And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to follow the rest of this journey through the minds and moments that shaped the history of chess. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on To Chess and Beyond.